This is Access 2019, Module 3, Part 4. We're going to be continuing on with our queries. With this query, we will be doing an exact match criteria. We're going to look for patients with visits that are from this town of the city, of St. Stone Mountain. We're also going to look at the show field option, and we're also going to look at how we can move fields within a query after we've created it. So let's go ahead and get back into our Lakewood database. We're going to start out creating a query. So again, we're going to go to Create, Query Design. We are going to be using the patient field, the patient table and the visit table. So we'll add both of those. Again, I do like to enlarge the field list to get rid of that scrolling bar. Now we're going to add some fields to our query. We want to add the last name and the first name. From the patient table, we will also add the phone number, the address, the city, and the email. From the visit table, we want to add the visit ID, the visit date, and the reason. Now, since we only want records that the patient lives in the city of Stone Mountain, we're going to enter a criteria on the criteria row under the city field. So you always want to figure out what field you're talking about. The city has to equal Stone Mountain. So we're going to come down here under criteria and type in Stone Mountain. When you tab out of that, it will put quotes around it because it is a text field. And the very next thing you always want to do is run your query. We want to make sure that the only value showing up in the city column is Stone Mountain. We want to check that before we make the city field not show any longer. Since city is only equal to Stone Mountain, and we're going to save this query, we're going to click Save, and we're going to call it Stone Mountain Patients. We no longer need to see this field. So let's go back into Design View. We cannot delete the field that we don't want to see because it's used in a criteria. If you have a field that you are using for a sort or as part of your criteria, but you do not want to see it in your data set, you cannot delete that field from your query, or you lose the criteria that it was containing or the sort or whatever it was. So we're going to uncheck this show box. And now when we click Run, you can see that it does not show up anymore. However, you can tell by the number of records, it's still only including Stone Mountain patients. Now, why didn't we just uncheck the box to begin with? We didn't uncheck it in the first place because if we do that, we don't know for sure that it worked. So you always want to test the criteria first and then uncheck the box. All right, the next thing we're going to look at is how do we move a field. Let's say we decided that the visit information should be first. Hover over the column for visit ID until you see the thick black down pointing arrow and hold down the mouse. Click the mouse. Now click a second time and hold it down. And you'll see a line. When you see that line, drag the line so that it becomes the first field, and it will move those fields for you. You can do more than one field at a time. I, however, usually tend to just do one at a time. I think it's easier. And then finally, we're going to move the reason. So you click twice, but it's not a fast double click. It is a slow second, a click, and then a click and a hold. Let's go ahead and click run. And now you can see that it put the information in the beginning. You could resize a few of these fields if you wanted to make the information a little more visible, and we'll go ahead and save this query.